Welcome to Phoenix Rising with Dr. Z. This podcast is all about conversations about healing and rising from the ashes of your grief and trauma. In this podcast, we will be deconstructing and highlighting the different aspects of grief and loss. I'm your host, Dr. Christina Zampatella. Hi, welcome to Phoenix Rising with Dr. Z. Today I am here with Megan to talk about the loss of a friend. This is an interesting topic because often we overlook, often we say, oh, okay, yeah, we have a loss of a family member, and that will go, very noticed. But the loss of a friend sometimes gets overlooked or forgotten very quickly. So looking forward to speaking with Megan and learning more about her experience of the loss of a childhood friend. And so thanks for joining us. Mm-hmm. And thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
Really excited to talk about this topic. I think it's a really important one in a lot of ways. I think it's important. So my name's Megan. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and I met my best friend, best childhood friend, through our brothers. So our brothers both played baseball together, and they, we were always at the field, so, we were playing in the dirt and decided to become best friends one day.
Like today's our best friend day.
Yes.
And her name?
Holly.
Holly,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So Holly and you became best friends around age?
We were probably in kindergarten.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yep, or even younger than that. It was, so we were really, really close. She would invite me over. I would, go swimming with her. She'd come to my house. Her parents were, like a second set of parents to me and vice versa.
So a lot of time together, like merging families.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we were always going out to dinner with our family. So we were always together. It was like the sister I never had, is kind of the way I view it. As we got older, she became addicted to drugs, and I wanted to stay there and support her, but sometimes you just have to make a choice, and so we kind of went our separate ways. And as she entered her adult years, it became worse. And I kind of sat back and kind of just watched. Through Facebook, we connected, and I would just hope for her recovery. She would, be in and out of rehab, and she then, can we stop for a second?
Okay. It's okay.
It was really hard because I never wanted to not be there for her, but I had to. I would, when I saw she was doing really well, she was, getting jobs and really trying to turn her life around, I would support her through Facebook. She would always, comment on my things. So we always had like this mutual just love for each other, regardless of where we were in our lives. Mm-hmm. And I really just tried to be there for her behind the scenes. Holly overdosed on March 3rd of 2022. The last time I had seen her was in 2014. I had met up for lunch with her and another friend. She seemed like she was doing well. Mm-hmm. And she, constantly was going back to it.
What was she addicted to? Do you mind me asking?
It was heroin. And when she passed, it was, there was heroin and fentanyl and horse tranquilizer. So there was a lot of...
Wow, really heavy. So how old was she when she began using, do you know?
She must have been ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
Yeah,
So beginning
ninth,
of high school.
yeah, it was beginning of high
So
school.
were you guys were in high school together?
Yes.
So you have this huge transition from eighth grade to ninth grade, which already, first of all, seventh and eighth grade sucks. And then you go into your freshman year expecting to have your best friend there. And then you lose the person that you had. There's a different person. There's a shifting there. What was that like for you?
It was really difficult. And, I remember there being like a defining moment too.
What was that?
I went over to her house one night in ninth grade and she was like, "Oh, you want to go to a party?" And I was like, "Sure." And we got there and it was not a party I wanted to be at. And that was kind of when I made up my mind that I wasn't going to be hanging out with her anymore. And that was a really hard decision.
Yeah.
But I it's like I can take myself back there. I just remember everything perfectly. And I didn't want to be there.
How did it feel?
It hurt. And I felt for her because I knew who she was, like, to her core and as like a person. And I know that that wasn't the lifestyle that she should have had.
It didn't match.
No.
Like how you understood who she was and these choices that she was making. And that just didn't seem to represent who she was as you knew her from when she was before 5 years old.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, being with her when we were younger, it was like we were always laughing and it was like she was a free spirit. We were always, we were kind of tomboys, so we were always like playing sports, doing things with our brothers, stuff like that. So to see her, go down this way, it was really difficult.
What was that like to watch her go down that path?
It was just a point where I just had to let her go, and let her make her own decisions. And then I, went and made my own decisions.
You had to let her go. Would you mind talking a little bit more about that?
Sure. Just as, my best friend, I had to let her go. And I needed her to experience what she needed to experience, and I couldn't stop her.
That's a very helpless feeling, I imagine. Kind of like witnessing something that's tragic and almost violent in a way. So having to see it, and it's like a helpless witnesser.
And people who knew Holly when we were children were shocked too, because she was never very social, or she was actually very shy, very shy. And in first grade, I was the only person she talked to. Even when the teacher called on her, she would get up, walk over, tell me the answer, and then I'd speak for her.
You were her voice. I can see how hard that is for you.
So, that was tough. To just kind of let that go. I don't know if I've ever laughed as hard with anyone else as I laugh with her, which makes it really hard too. An embarrassing story. I was in the kitchen with her at her parents' house one time, and we were just fooling around doing stupid stuff, and I was losing it. And I peed my pants. I just and she was laughing, and I still remember her her laugh was so contagious. So once, and that was seventh, eighth grade when that happened.
Yeah.
So we, that was pretty close to the point where I had to let her go.
What do you like? Okay, so I was just talking in a previous podcast with, I probably said it multiple times, but we live in our stories, right? We try to put together a narrative and try to make sense of like what the hell happened. Like I know with my brother, like it was a little bit easier because Damien had bipolar disorder and ADHD. So there was part of me that was able to say he was self-medicating because back in the 90s, they had no idea what to do with it in the field of mental health. They just didn't get it. So I was able to put a little bit of that story together. Not that it was okay, it just made a little bit more sense to me. And still sucked. I still hated it. So is there a part of you that was trying to make sense of how she ended up going down that path?
Definitely. I always tried to kind of figure out, was she using that as a way to open up more socially?
Yeah, I was wondering that same thing.
Yeah, because, she was so quiet and shy. And then once, her lifestyle changed and she was making different choices, she, came out of her shell more.
You could see that.
Yes. Yes. So I always kind of wondered if that was it. And, as I think she was part of the LGBTQ community. And she, came out, I believe, sometime in high school.
So that could have been, you wonder if that could have been part of it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Just to kind of, cope with that if she was feeling any type of way about that. And so those are things that, I do think, were reasons for her for using.
What was it like for you emotionally to grieve the loss of somebody who was alive?
It was hard. Like I said, I don't think I've ever laughed as hard with anybody. I don't know if I'll ever have a best friend like her. And there's something I think really innocent about a best childhood friend too.
Yeah.
And really special. As we were inseparable.
You share a history.
Yeah. Yeah. So to have to, let go of something like that and let her be who she needed to be, it was a difficult time. It was.
To watch in high school. Did you went to high school with her the whole time? Was there contact through that time?
Yeah, we had like one or two classes together throughout the years, not many, but it was more of an acquaintance,
Wow.
and less of, it was almost like everything we had gone through was kind of like forgotten about.
So this whole past that you had, these memories that you had became a little bit more bittersweet. We talk about bittersweet memories when we're grieving. So it's like you can look back on them, you can remember playing in the dirt or whatever and playing sports together, and those were sweet memories, but now they're a little bit more bitter as a result of the loss of her.
Yeah.
It sounds like it might have impacted your, and if I'm wrong, please, because I'm wrong at least a good 43 times a day. So if I'm wrong, and that's fine. But has it gotten in the way of you allowing yourself to open up to other people?
I think so. In a way, yeah. Yeah.
How does that feel for you?
It's frustrating because, like I said, I knew who she was growing up, and for her to make a drastic change in her life like that was shocking, and didn't see her going down that way at all.
No.
Not at all.
Sounds like it just came out of the blue for you. Did you ever confront her about it?
I didn't. And I don't, I kind of have a little bit of regret about that.
I was going to ask you about that. Okay. Like I should have.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like an I should have. And I don't know if it was because, you're in high school and peer pressure and all that stuff. And did I really want to bring it up? And it would make me look uncool. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It would make you look uncool to confront her.
Because, you know, when you get into high school, people start to experiment with those types of things. And if I were to bring it up, how would that make me look, you know?
And it's such a natural, like, developmental thing for people to go through in high school, of trying to navigate, who am I, who's my peer group, my peer group's shifting, I'm trying on this identity over here, like today I'm going to be, you know, goth, and tomorrow I'm going to be prep.
Yes.
You know, and who the hell am I? But it then gets in the way, I think, of what that I'm hearing you say, gets in the way of navigating the changes in relationships that you have in high school. And we, you know, just as a little side note, not to get too like clinical with you, but one of the things that we do know about children who have lost, and young adults who have lost friends in high school, or any kind of loss in high school, it can get in the way developmentally, you know, in terms of like getting stuck a little bit. So it's like losing her, like I said earlier, losing her, yet she's still alive.
Yeah.
So it's just like this weird kind of ambiguous loss. What was it like to see her when you weren't close to her anymore?
It, like I said, when I saw her in 2014, we were adults at that point, and you know, it was a little bit different. You know, there was not that closeness that we had, but you know, we still kind of chit-chatted and were able to connect and all that. The love was always there, always, still is. But you know, I didn't want to get too close again, because I knew the pattern. You know, I'm going to be good for a while, and then I'm going to slip back into it.
Would you get closer to her when things got better, or did you always have a distance with her?
I think I always had a wall up. You know, when my son was born in 2010, she was one of the first people that I took him to go see, because, you know, she was my childhood friend. I wanted her to see him. That was a really, really cool moment. But, you know, he only saw her that one time when he was a baby, because, you know, we didn't really have that, you know, let's meet up type connection anymore.
Right. So loss of the future you thought you were going to have with her, and including being connected to your son. That's a lot of adjustment. Yeah. So then forwarding into, you know, 2022, unless there's anything in there that I'm missing.
2018,
Okay.
I had reached out to her. I knew she was having she was in a rough patch.
Okay.
And I knew she was local, because, you know, with the drug use, she would go to different areas. She was out in California at one time. She was kind of all over the place. But in 2018, I knew she was local. I knew she was struggling. So I reached out and I said, hey, you want to get lunch or do something? And the communication was very like hit or miss. Like she would be all about it, and then I wouldn't hear from her for a few days. So then I was like, I could tell she was probably using again. And I found out that she was, and she had overdosed at that point, but you know, they found her and they were able to do the Narcan. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were able to do that, and brought her back, and you know, it was like almost another chance for her. I know she overdosed several times over the course of her drug use.
That's scary.
Yeah, her mom talked about that a lot, and just hoping that, you know, one of those would have been her wake-up call to just really turn it around. But so we ended up in 2018, we didn't ever see each other. Just because the communication, I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was like police involved at one point, but I think that ultimately is what happened, and then we were unable to meet up and reconnect. And I think I have a lot of regret I wish I would have pushed a little harder to try to get her to come and see me and just kind of talk and see her, but didn't happen.
Do you imagine that that would have changed anything?
Probably not, because I know that at the end of the day, if the only person that can help themselves is themselves.
Yeah.
So I couldn't pull her out as much as I wanted to.
So you have this juxtaposition between, I really wish, I have the regret of, I wish I would have pushed her a little bit, maybe I would have gotten through, and then this other part going, yeah, but that might have been futile.
Right. And it might have even, if it might have even hurt me more than I was already hurting. So, that was really the last time we had texted back and forth. And then, just liking each other's stuff on Facebook, commenting, that type of thing from 2018 to 2022. And in January of last year, she had posted that she had found like a career that she wanted to do, and she was really excited for next steps. And then she had gotten a job, and I was so happy for her because she seemed like she was doing so well. She was out in, on the West Coast with her mom. And then, all these good things were happening. It was great. And then she moved back here at the end of January. And, got that job and everything looked good. And I think she just wanted to try it one more time, just to try it. And it was too much. Her dad had left for Mexico just to go away. And they had seen her doing really, really well. So, they felt that she could handle it. But her dogs were home with her, and when paramedics and all that came in, the dogs were just laying with her.
Oh my goodness.
And that was hard to hear, because those dogs were she was obsessed. She loved them, always posting pictures. They were adorable. So I feel for them because, pets grieve too, I think.
They do. They do.
And, I'm glad they were there with her. But it just, you're never really prepared to get that type of news.
No.
Even though, I know her past and all the overdoses she had and all that, but it just seemed like she was so good at this point.
Yeah.
And that was...
I think that's something that it can be very misconceived that, well, she's had problems her whole life, eventually it was going to happen, like something just terribly stated like that, and we had and I've been talking about this, all day today and in other podcasts about how it's so disenfranchised about why are you surprised? I mean, this has been, happening. And it's like, wait a minute, you don't understand addiction. And that's not how addiction works. So today, and you were saying earlier today is the 11th month anniversary, and that you're aware that in exactly a month it'll be a 1-year anniversary date of her passing. Do you find yourself paying attention to the 3rd of every single month?
I do.
Yeah.
It's early in the month, I think about it. And I think of her so frequently, more so than I thought. Just because, you had said I kind of grieved her in high school. But so, with her passing, you would think that I would have been a little more prepared to, but it's not. Not at all.
No.
I think of her a lot, and there's a lot of things that remind me of her. The other day I was driving, and this song came on.
Yeah.
And it was one that we had listened to a lot in high school before, early high school, beginning of 9th grade. And I just thought of her instantly. And I actually was really excited to hear the song. Like
Yeah.
I didn't start crying or anything like that. I turned it up.
You turned it up.
Turned it up
You didn't
for
change
Holly.
the channel, you turned it up.
Um,
So something, again, another thing that connected you
yeah.
to her.
Absolutely.
I hear, believe it or not, quite a bit in working with people that one of the places where they're touched most intensely is actually in the car. Like A, because you're alone and you have some space, and B, because of music. And music is so powerful. And we're going to talk in a future podcast about the use of sound therapy in grief, but that we're not touching necessarily on like songs. Maybe that'll be another one here. But yeah, the impact of, because I always kind of look at music as being the language of the soul. And it took you right back there, didn't it?
Took me right back. Yep. And you mentioned being in the car. After I found out Holly had passed, I went to the car and at the end of my work day, and I turned on the radio and another song came on, and it wasn't one that we had really listened to together, but just the words.
Just the words.
And it hit me, and I was pissed.
You were
I was
pissed.
pissed at her.
Talk about that a little bit.
I was shocked at how mad I was. Like really, really mad. So I screamed in my car because I was pissed. She had so much to live for, especially like all the things she had been doing prior to her passing. She had so much going for her, and she had really turned it around. So it was infuriating, you know, to find out that she tried it one more time, and that was it for her.
Thank you for listening to Phoenix Rising with Dr. Z. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it, subscribe, and leave a rating or review wherever you get your podcasts. We want to be a resource for anyone who is experiencing loss, and this is a simple way you can help us spread the word. Check out our show description. There you'll find a link to connect with me on social media, as well as helpful articles and resources.